So welcome to the 4-H Lunch and Learn with MSU Extension. Today, our lesson is Get Creative with Keynote. My name is Kathy Jameson, and with me is Mackenzie Mearschart, and we're gonna both be presenting. So I am the PI for our Apple Community Education Initiative, and I'm located in Southeast Michigan, a county called Macomb. And I will have Mackenzie introduce herself.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Mackenzie. I'm a student at Michigan State University. I'm in my third year. I interned this summer with Kathy and with the Apple Community Education Initiative in Macomb County. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here and to be able to teach you guys a few things during your lunch.
The closer you get, the easier the fun.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to cover 4 key things. We're going to talk a little bit about your Apple Pencil. So we're hoping you have your iPad with you and a pencil. We will use both. We're going to also learn a little bit about Keynote and use some shapes, talk about some images. We're going to brainstorm some applications. So we're going to have some interactive towards the end, but feel free to ask questions as we go through. I have an eye on the chat, and we'll slow down. We want to make sure everybody's staying at the pace. So just feel free. So I am going to stop sharing, and I'm going to turn it over to Mackenzie so she can share her iPad.
Clams.
Awesome.
Say clams are the least amount of clams. See what I did there? Out of the 5 left, the least expensive.
Okay. All right. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna go over is how to connect your Apple Pencil to the iPad if it's not already connected. So what you're gonna do, you can kind of see if you can see my screen with just my face in it. I'm holding up my Apple Pencil, and it has a little end that sort of looks like a charging cord. What you're gonna do to connect your Apple Pencil to your iPad is you're gonna plug it in like you would be charging your iPad. So you're gonna plug the pencil in, and it should connect that way. To make sure it's connected, you're gonna want to go to the settings. So if you can see the bottom of my screen, mine's down here, and it's also in the middle. Press settings, and then you're gonna go on the side to the Bluetooth section, and then if your Apple Pencil is connected, it will say connected on the screen. You can also check to see how charged your Apple Pencil is. When you are first plugging your Apple Pencil in, it might need to charge a little bit, and it uses the iPad to charge. So to check the status of whether or not it's charging, you can just go on the side under General and select Apple Pencil, and it'll show you up at the top how charged yours is. Mine says it's at 62% right now. There's also a couple of different settings you could do on your Apple Pencil. So one of them is only draw with Apple Pencil. It's right under how charged it is. If you have this turned on, you can only use your Apple Pencil for drawing on your screen. If you try to draw with your fingers when it's on, it won't work. Your fingers are only going to be used for scrolling. And then there's also a setting called Scribble, and that's where your Apple Pencil can be used to convert handwriting into typed words, which is pretty cool. I'm going to press this Try Scribble button so you guys know what it looks like. I'm using my Apple Pencil now to write the word apple, and it turns into text. So those are just some fun little settings that you guys can use with your Apple Pencils, and they can come in handy when you are doing the Keynote activity. Does anybody have any questions or anything so far?
I don't see anything in the chat, but also we have a small group, so feel free to unmute if you do have a question.
Yeah, perfect. All right, so now we're going to get into the fun stuff, the Keynote activity. So you guys can press your home button to go back to your home screen, and you're going to enter the Keynote app. You can do this either by searching your screen, or you can slide up to bring up the search bar and search Keynote and search for the app manually and bring it up. It'll bring you to this main screen, and what you're going to do is create a new presentation. So if you guys can see my pointer up at the top right half of the screen, there's a plus button, and that's going to be what you tap to create a new presentation. So you're going to select choose a theme after you press the plus button, and it's going to ask you to choose from a couple of different styles of presentations. I'm just going to do the basic white one for now, but you guys can click any one you want.
So raise your hand if everybody's following along with us. Do we need to pause for a moment? Make sure. Okay.
Awesome.
Make sure everybody's with us. Okay, perfect.
Okay, cool. All right, next I'm gonna have you guys name your presentations. So up at the top here in the top left corner, it says presentation. That's the current title of it. You guys are just going to tap that. And then there's the option to rename it. So you can name it whatever you want. The activity that we're going to be doing today is making Valentine's Day cards with the Keynote. So I'm going to name mine Valentine's Day card. But you guys can name it whatever you want. You can put your name there. Yeah, you guys can make it your own. I'll give everybody a couple seconds to finish naming theirs. And then what we're going to do next is we're going to create a blank page in our presentation. So down at the bottom left corner where my cursor is, there's a plus button in a box. You're going to tap that and then scroll all the way to the bottom. There's a bunch of different styles of slides. We want to add a blank slide. So we're going to press blank. That's going to be the last one. And it'll bring up a blank page without any text boxes or anything in it.
So Mackenzie, let's go back to the first slide, and in case they forget, how they can delete the words from the other slide.
Perfect. You can also create a blank slide by deleting the text button or the text boxes that are in the original one. And to do that, all you need to do is press the text box just with a single tap, and it'll bring up a couple of different options, and one of them is delete. So you can just press delete and it'll get rid of it. You can do that with the remainder of them as well, and it'll just leave you with a blank presentation. All right, how's everybody doing? Are we all caught up and following along?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay, so next, now that we have our presentation set up in Keynote, we're gonna add a couple of elements to it. The first one is gonna be a shape. So let me take my cursor. Up at the top, there is gonna be a button that looks like a square and a circle next to each other. You're gonna wanna press that. That's the button to add a shape. There's several different types of shape that you can scroll through. The one that I'm on right now is basic, and it has some basic shapes. You can also look through objects. You can add shapes of animals, different aspects of nature, symbols. There's a whole bunch of fun shapes that you can add. I'm going to search for a heart shape because we're making little Valentine's Day cards. So you can search for a shape by pressing the search button right next to basic, and you can just search what shape you want. So I'm going to search for heart, and then all you need to do is tap it to add it into the presentation.
Your screen went black. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, I lost it for a second.
Okay.
All right, so now that we have the shape added in, we can do a couple of different things to customize it. The first thing you can do is you can change the side and position of it within the Keynote. As you can see right now, the shape is highlighted and it has blue lines with dots on the outside. You can use these dots to change the size of the shape. So I'm going to tap one of the dots, and if you tap it and drag it, you can make it bigger or smaller. You can also change the position of it by tapping it and dragging it wherever you want across the screen. You can also change the color of it. And to do this, you're going to go up in the top right corner. There's a button that kind of looks like a paintbrush. You're going to tap that. And then it'll bring you to this style screen. The top couple colors that you see are presets of colors. So you can tap any one of those and your shape will change color. If you want a couple more color options, you can press the fill button and it'll take you to a screen where it has a couple of different color options for you to choose from. So I'm gonna make my heart pink. You could also do gradients for the colors, which is two colors that kind of blend into each other. So to do this, next to the highlighted color, there's a button called gradient. You can press it, and then you could choose the starting and ending color. So I'm gonna make mine go from pink to blue. So I'm gonna change that start color. And as you can see, my shape goes from one color to the other. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Yeah, there's a couple of questions.
Okay.
Can you incorporate clip art or other shapes? So absolutely, you could actually draw your own shape. And if you go into the shape button, there was many different options of shapes that you can choose from. I think in our next activity, we're going to show how you can incorporate a picture into the heart, but you could also upload a clip art. You would have to save it onto into your photos and then upload it that way.
Yep, exactly.
And then the other question is, can you invert the shape, spin it around? So if you
I
maybe
believe
want to
so.
show them how to do that.
Yeah. So to invert the shape, all you would do is, I think you would tap one of these. Yeah. So you would just do it the same way you would change the size. And then once it gets really small, you just switch it to the opposite direction. And you can have it flip to anyone. It's kind of hard to see right now since it's symmetrical, but if you had a shape that wasn't, that's how you would flip it.
I believe you could also go into the paintbrush,
Nope.
and
Yeah,
arrange.
the range. Yeah, you could go into a range and then you could flip it horizontally or vertically. Right, perfect. You can also add borders to the shape as well. So if you go under that first style page, there's a section called border. You can flip the switch on and you can add a border to the shape. Let me move the shape so you guys can actually see it. So you can change the color or the width of the border. I'm gonna make mine bigger by pressing this plus button, and then I'm gonna change the color of it to red.
So notice how, if you can go back there real quick, notice how she changed the width, which is right underneath the color. So you could play around with how thick you want that border to be. So hers is 11 points right now.
All right, does anybody have any questions about the shapes before we move on to adding some other elements? Okay, perfect. So the next thing we're gonna add is a text box. And you're gonna do this the same way that you would a shape. So pressing that shape button up on the top toolbar. And then you're gonna go to the basic section. And you're gonna see in the top left, it says text. You're just gonna tap that and it'll enter a text box. Right now it's pretty small, but you can see it right in the heart. So to edit the text, you're gonna do it the same way you would edit the shape. You would press the format button up at the top, the little tool brush. And then first I'm gonna show you how to make it bigger. So you're gonna go under text. And then you're gonna see that you can either plus or minus the size of the text to make it bigger or smaller. You can also change the text color right underneath. So right now it's gray. If you tap on the color, you can choose from some presets, or you can select from the list of colors. And then to edit the text, all you're gonna do is double tap it. And it'll bring up your keyboard, and you can tap whatever you would like into it. If you need to expand the text box a little bit so it fits all your text in it, you would just tap it and then tap one of the blue dots and move it to expand it. All right, how's everybody doing?
Keeping up with you. Your pace is good.
All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, so now that we have the text box added, I'm also going to show you guys how to draw with your Apple Pencil. So all you're going to do to start a drawing is take your Apple Pencil and tap the Keynote, and it'll bring up this little pop-up at the bottom of your screen that'll show you that you can start drawing. So you can use the Apple Pencil like a regular pencil and just start drawing on the screen. You can also change the style of the pencil that you're using so that you can personalize it a little bit. You would just tap a new pencil down at the bottom, and it'll sort of stick out a little bit more from the rest of the pencils, and that's how you know which one you're going to be using. You can also change the color of the pencil that you're using. So you can see sort of down at the bottom, there's a couple of presets for colors. Right now I have blue, green, yellow, and red. And there's also a color gradient button. You can select that color gradient, and it'll bring up all the different colors that you can use. You could also change the size of the pencil that you're using. So maybe you want to create thinner lines with your drawings or make thicker lines. So all you would have to do for that is tap the pencil style that you're using. And you could see the different thickness of lines. You can just select a different thickness. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, perfect. So now I'm gonna show you guys how you would make this into a card that you can print. So this Keynote acts kind of as a piece of paper. And I don't know if you guys have ever like handmade cards, but you can fold a paper in half and it'll look like a card. So to do that, all we would do is move our elements all to one side. So you would have to tap it with your finger, move it all to one side. And then you would have to share the Keynote. So the share button is up in the top right corner. It looks like a box with an arrow pointing up. You would tap that, and then you would do export and send. If you have your iPad connected to a printer, you could tap the print button and that would automatically send it to your printer. But I know not all iPads are set up to do that. So the best bet for you would be to export and send. And you could export it in these different formats. I prefer to use PDF when exporting just because it makes it good and accessible through a bunch of different formats. And then if you had multiple slides, you would edit the slide range. But you would want to make sure that the image quality is on best and that it includes the backgrounds, so that toggle is turned on. And then you can press the export button and it'll save to your iPad as a PDF. You can also share it with other people. So let's say you wanted to share it with somebody in your family who you have their number. You can share that in messages, or you can also AirDrop it. And you can find all of those in these options up here. Does anybody have any questions about sharing or exporting their Keynote? All right, cool. Do we want to get into the applications and brainstorm?
You know what, before we do
how to
that,
use it? Sure.
if you could share how rather than having a color in the heart, maybe they
Mhm.
want to have a picture.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. All right, so let me close these down a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to, in order to add a color, or sorry, in order to add a photo to fill your shape with, you can just press that format button and then go to style. I believe you would go into fill. And instead of having one of the preset colors or a color gradient, you would go all the way to the right where it says image. And you can change the image. You can either take a photo in the app, or you can choose from camera roll. This is my personal iPad, so I'm not going to go into my camera roll, but I will take a photo so you guys can see what that looks like. So I have this little Yoshi keychain that's right next to me. So once it focuses, I'm going to take a photo of it. And then once you take a photo, you can press use photo. And as you can see now, you can have an image that fills the shape instead of just a color.
So one question, how can you change the background color? So the background color of the whole presentation? Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking? Okay, yes, let's do that.
Yeah. Let's see. So for that, you would make sure that you don't have any elements selected and you would press the format button. There's a background with a color next to it. Right now it's white. You would just press that and then you can again choose from the different colors or gradients, or you can insert an image. So I will make the background of this one a very light pink. But yeah, that's how you would change the background color.
Okay, so awesome. Any questions? Because we have a couple more things that we're going to do before we end today. I know we only have 4 minutes. All right, well, I am going to share my screen then.
Awesome. I will stop sharing.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about brainstorming applications. So today we did one on Valentine's Day because it's just a couple of days, it's tomorrow, I believe. So, but you can see that you can do this on many different topics. So what we did, I'm just going to share some examples of what I've done. So around the holidays, we did a create your ugly sweater contest. So there's actually an image of a shirt, and you could have the young people decorate it. So it is, you can see in the drawing on the bottom left, I uploaded the Spartan helmet. So that's where you can upload your own graphics. I wrote Merry Christmas, and then I made my shirt green. So I incorporated a lot of those different things that Mackenzie went over today. Another cool shape is a Christmas tree. And again, there, I actually used different shapes to include it. And I actually made this a animated GIF where I had the star blinking and the colors of the ornaments changing, and I added music to it, and then I sent it out to my family. But another example is around the holidays was we created a present. But you can see how this can be applicable to many different things that are happening. So just recently I worked with one of our staff members. We did this for Martin Luther King Day. So we had a picture of Martin Luther King. They drew on it, and then they created their own We Have a Dream. So all their dreams on another slide. We have St. Patrick's Day, of course, coming up, Earth Day, Independence Day, another activity. I think it was you, Mackenzie. They had them pull up the flag, and then they created their own flag. You got Easter right around the corner, they can have them decorate eggs. So lots of applications. So I want to see if others have some ideas of how you can incorporate this activity. So that way, those are just a couple of my ideas, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to put those in the chat if you have some. But you can do this on so many different kinds of holidays, special occasions, and so forth. So next slide. So I want to just recap what Mackenzie went over. So a couple of things: make sure you charge your pencils if you're going to be using your pencils ahead of time. So you can do that by just plugging your Apple Pencil in, and then you can see how much battery it has. And you just go to settings. So another thing that you're going to want to think about is, do you want to have it on only draw with Apple Pencil on or off? So if you're having some issues with the Apple Pencil, you might want to consider turning that off. So that way they can draw with both their finger and their pencils, or if you don't have enough pencils to go around. And then the scribble activity was fun. Couple of things that she went over is we did Keynote. So how to open Keynote, how to rename your presentation, making the presentation blank by deleting the text boxes or by adding a blank slide, adding shapes. And like I said, there's so many different shapes that you can choose from. Today we just used the heart, but you could have just drew your own heart, and you could put an arrow right through it. There's pictures of arrows. Changing the sizes, the positions, the colors, set solids and gradients, as well as fill with image borders and text. how can I delete the entire thing that I created? So you can actually just go into that presentation, hold it down, and it should come up so you can delete that presentation. Okay. Couple more things about the text boxes we did, and then we also use the Apple Pencil to handwrite and draw. So if you could, we would love if you could